This is a new attachment I just picked up for my big slide saw. And it fits right here on the back of the saw by sliding this portion right here into this slot right here. And then you tighten it down using these two black knobs right here. And it has two main components to it. One is this arm that sticks out right here that acts as support for material that you'll be loading on. And the second part is this movable arm right here that has a measuring tape built into it so you can set distances for repeatable cuts. And now this is really useful for a lot of different types of cuts. But let me start by just showing you two. For the first one, let's say that I'm working with a full 8-foot sheet of plywood in some dimension, and I want to make a bunch of cuts, let's say at 10 or 16 or 24 inches. And one way to do it would be to come over here to your fence, move your fence over to the measurement, and then somehow come back here and line yourself up while holding the full 8-foot sheet piece, and then push the piece through, doing your very best to keep the workpiece against the fence and not have it move or twist at all as you're going through, which causes imperfections in the cuts, which can be really frustrating. But with a slide saw, what you can do is bring that workpiece over to the top of the slide, get it all fastened down where you want it to be, and then use the perfect parallel movement of the slide to move your workpiece over the blade, giving you a perfect straight line cut. However, when you're working with long pieces, one of the problems is making sure you're square down at the very end of your board so you get nice parallel cuts. I know that this fence right here is perfectly 90 degrees to my slide, which is parallel to my blade. But I don't have a whole lot to work with right here, and so there is a chance that when I come and line it up and set my measurement, I might be out by 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, or any amount. It doesn't really matter. Being out is being out. And so now what I can do is I can come down here and set my measurement exactly where I want it, and then come down to this side, and then loosen off the knob here on the bottom and move this slide over until it's exactly the same measurement as the one on the front. And now I can pull the whole slide section back just so it's past the blade, and then I can load the board in, butting the front up against the front stopper and the back up against the back stopper. And then I know I'm gonna make a perfect straight cut at the same distance. And now you'll see this board is actually at a square. It's 10.5 inches on the front and 11.5 inches on the back. And I'm gonna rip it so that it's now perfectly 10 inches front and back, and you'll see that the piece that's cut off starts to get wider as it goes towards the back. There, now we've got that long wedge piece, and now a nice straight cut down this board, and it's at 10 inches. Now this second one is probably one that causes a lot more problems. Let's say we've got a bigger, longer board and we want to cut a 45-degree miter on it all the way down the length of it. So we tilt our blade to 45 degrees, we come back here somewhere and position ourselves, and we push our board through, and we try to get a perfect 45-degree cut all the way along. And for any of you that have done that, you know that it's hard. Because as you're pushing your board through and moving down the saw, you have so many joints in your body, and you're trying to adjust your weight and move and do it in a uniform manner that keeps your board perfectly against the fence and the top of the table, and push it through in such a uniform manner that you end up with a perfect 45-degree cut, which is very hard to do. And harder to do the longer the board is and the thicker the board is. It seems no matter what I do, as I'm going down, at some point the board might lift up a tiny bit or rotate a bit or tilt a bit, and I end up with imperfections in that 45-degree miter. And then when I go to put that 45 together, I can see the gaps and the problems. Now instead what I can do is come up here, set the distance on my front gauge, set the distance on my rear one, tilt my blade over to 45 degrees, and then I can take and load my board in, making sure it's butted against the stoppers on the front and the back. And then I'm also gonna pull over and use this clamp to lock down the lumber so it's secure and in place and won't move. And then we can fire this saw up and see how accurate we can make this cut.